You've made a list of 5 changes to how Americans, and I think most of these apply to Canada too, have to think. Can we bang through them? You got 5 of them. The first one I think is sort of obvious, and I know you do too, but a lot of people have been in denial. It's communist China is a global menace. How would a paradigm shift look now that we know that's true?
Well, I think the first point would be that we essentially need to unwind the integration of China. And when I say China, I mean the Chinese Communist Party and the entities that it controls, which is essentially all of the entities in that country, from the global political system, the global economic system. We essentially need to undo the globalist paradigm, in particular when it comes to putting ourselves at the mercy of this adversarial, hostile regime. And so this goes for America and the rest of the free world as well. That starts with decoupling from the Chinese Communist Party in every strategically significant sector. And that has been shown in most crystal terms, in this case, in terms of the Chinese Communist Party through one of its English language propaganda publications, threatening to cut off the availability of essential medical supplies. In other words, we're putting our life and limb, our fate, in the hands of a hostile adversary, and that is simply suicidal.
Yeah, I think they poisoned us, and now they're threatening to withhold the medicine to that same poison. It is insane that China produces so many of the meds for the West, and I see that American pharmaceutical companies are squawking about Trump's strong suggestion that they repatriate their factories. Why? I mean, really, are they saving 5% or 10%? It's so trivial, the financial savings per pill, let's say, and the devastating costs of this virus and everything else ought to make us realize that that's a fool's errand to try and save a few bucks, but invite all these other Chinese communist problems into our own homes. Let me move on to the next point. It's very closely related. Coronavirus starkly illustrates globalism's downside. You have a special emphasis here on the World Health Organization. They've been liars on this the whole time through. Give us a bit of a rundown of their boss, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus. I don't know if I'm saying that right. He's the boss of the World Health Organization. He was chosen by China, wasn't he?
It appears that China backed his campaign to run the WHO, which it bears noting is an organ of the United Nations, the globalist institution par excellence. And he not only has been tied to China through its backing of him at the WHO, but he previously served, I believe, as health minister in Ethiopia. Ethiopia, and in particular its health sector, are inextricably intertwined with China. It's my understanding there's substantial relations between the two countries. And consequently, I would suggest all you have to do is look at the statements to come out of the WHO favorable toward the Chinese Communist Party and Xi, praising them for their leadership during this crisis, saying originally that it appeared this was not a human-to-human transmitted virus, essentially propagating Chinese Communist Party propaganda, which directly correlated with the spread, the metastasization of this pandemic the world over. So again, the corruption of global institutions by their work with the Chinese Communist Party has real consequences for the life and limb of the West. On top of course, again, these global supply chains that put us at the mercy of the Chinese Communist Party and even the open borders strategy. And in many instances, and Secretary of State Pompeo said this, the Chinese Communist Party threatened those countries, for example, I believe in Europe, not to impose travel bans from China when, of course, this was being spread from China. So again, we see the corruption of every aspect of our lives, essentially, by this inextricably intertwined relationship with the Chinese Communist Party that has proven disastrous to the West.
That's an excerpt from my daily show, The Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.